Welcome to our Savvy series. I'm Catherine Magana here with Rachel Ivanovich. And today we're going to talk about back to school isn't just for kids and how to level up your financial education this fall. So here we are, and almost feels like
August.
the end of, I know, it feels like, end of summer, but summer's still, you still have a few more weeks left.
Yes, exactly.
But there are a lot of back to school shopping. And I know for myself, our kids are going back to school in a couple weeks.
I heard the first ad yesterday.
Did you? It's like, oh,
I was like, seriously, summer's over?
Well, I went shopping with Madison last weekend, and I could tell there was tons of families out back to school shopping, clothing shopping. And
Interesting.
So it's not just getting new backpacks and pencils and supplies for your kids. It's really also taking a step back and looking at your financial skills and education. So perhaps you have retirement, on the mind, or you have a big goal coming up. And so we think this is a good time to really take a step back and reflect on, what's important to you and how do you, schedule education for yourself.
We want you to invest in your own financial knowledge before retirement.
Exactly. And so before we talk about your own personal path, I did want to touch a little bit on kind of the education planning for kids. And it's interesting, we actually have a few clients that have been saving in 529 plans, and they're now requesting their distributions to get paid to the colleges. And so we've had some conversations recently about education planning and distributions. And but I thought it was timely just to mention a little bit about 529s.
I think it's important to know that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act had a provision about 529 plans. And if you don't know, 529 plans are for saving for college, but they're also for saving for K through 12. Okay. And so there are quite a few rules you have to follow there, but in the past you could only take $10,000 or put $10,000 into these accounts.
So you can put in the 529s without the gift, it's $19,000 this year,
yes.
And if you're married, you can do twice that.
But you could take out $10,000 to pay for K through 12, and they under the new act they have increased that.
Oh, okay.
So and they've also expanded the categories for what you can actually use the money for. Mm-hmm. So call us. Yes. We'd like to chat with you and to review your 529 plans or any other. Anything else that has to do with your finances?
Okay, so back to school for you as adults.
Yes.
So if you are thinking about retirement, or if retirement's maybe a few years out, we definitely think there's some key areas to think about regarding financial education. So one of them is kind of understanding investments. What type of investments are out there? What's your allocation? Are you diversified? We actually do some workshops. We actually have a Becoming a Seriously Savvy Woman workshop.
Coming up soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one we have coming up is our Savvy Woman Invest on Purpose series.
Okay, that's true.
But the other series we have is more of investing basics. And then the other thing that comes up is maybe start learning about retirement income. So do you have required minimum distributions you have to take out later? Or where is the money going to come from? It doesn't hurt to start thinking about or having these conversations now, even though you may not be taking those now.
Well, and planning for retirement income because, what are you going to live when you get older? Are you going to have rental income? Are you going to have income from Roth IRAs, which is not taxed? So really learning what your options are, I think, is really important.
And then we think also being educated on your estate plans. I know we've had conversations about that in the past. Do you have a will and a trust and power of attorneys, and
Absolutely.
making sure that's all in order. And then it's not just having the wills and trusts, it's are your assets titled properly, and obviously working with your estate planning attorney.
We had a client come in the other day and they had over $600,000 sitting in an account, and they did have a trust and it wasn't titled in the trust. So just making sure that once you've set that trust up that the assets actually get moved into the trust.
I think sometimes there's a misconception that I have a trust.
Right.
And,
it just covers it.
Yeah.
Right?
But the reality is...
You have to fund the trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another education topic is kind of the long-term care and Medicare review. It's interesting. We actually have... Pam Morton that we actually met with this morning.
Yes,
a specialist that we've connected with, and we were just talking about IRMA and just certain things that happen with retirement planning. So those are definitely some things
and
to
what's
learn.
IRMA? Right.
I'll let you explain.
Income-related monthly adjustment amount. So what that basically is it's a tax. If your income is too high, if you're receiving Medicare already, so your premiums are one level But then if your income goes over, I think for this year it's 106K.
Single.
Then it bumps up and you pay what they call a surcharge. So we definitely want to plan ahead for that because it does have a 2-year look back period. So
And then we were just talking this morning
Yeah.
that if you have a life-changing event, potentially you might be able to submit.
there's a waiver that you can submit and retirement is a life-changing event apparently.
At least for now.
At least for now, exactly, until it changes.
Exactly. Okay, so you're probably thinking, okay, there's a lot of different topics and things regarding education. So one of the things that we follow is a proactive wealth process, and it really helps us with our clients make sure that we provide a way for you to learn. And so what we look at with our proactive wealth process is we look at the assets, we look at liabilities, protection and planning, as well as your estate plans. And so what we do is we actually, within each of those kind of areas, we have a little more detail. So like, for example, asset management, it might be investment policies, goals and objectives, asset allocation, income vehicles, tax planning. And so what we're saying is, okay, you have these different kind of subtopics. Maybe pick a couple and you learn about it, and then you kind of move on each quarter. You can break it up each quarter.
Because it can be so overwhelming to try to learn about all of these topics and
All at once.
All at once,
Yeah.
and where do I even start? And so, like you said, the first category, just say, is your first quarter asset
Yeah.
management, and tax planning's in there, which is perfect because
Yeah.
it's tax season. But then the second quarter, okay, let's review our mortgages, or let's review any personal debt we have, or my what does our credit look like, and just really focus each quarter on one or two topics. And like you said, educate yourself on one or two topics. Third quarter, protective strategies. Okay, do I have life insurance? Do I have enough life insurance?
Or do I need long-term care insurance? Or, what is it that,
Yeah.
what's out there and what do I need?
Or disability strategies. I had a client who called in, and I talked to him on Monday, and he is, a higher income earner, and he's in his mid 40s. So he was thinking about, do I need disability insurance and/or should I self-insure? And he says every quarter he thinks about it, and then he just, well, I don't need that. I'm so young. Why do I need that? And then it turns out his brother got hurt and didn't have it and is having to self-insure now. So he wanted to have the conversation, what does that look like? What does it cost? And should I have it?
It's not a bad conversation, or at least look at the numbers and then see, like you said, do you do partial, do you full, or do you self-insure, and what's the best option for you?
And then legacy planning is maybe fourth quarter, and like we were saying, gift strategies is $19,000 per individual per year, or review your will, review your trust. Make sure you have everything in place for
So there is,
your
so
family.
we are big advocates for this process and making sure we're breaking it down. And we usually try each quarter provide different webinars and content and events as well to help to go in line with this. But if you have questions or if you need help, please reach out to us. You can reach us at 760-692-5700. And so once again, as we're approaching this fall, perhaps pick a couple sections.
One or two areas.
Yeah, and we talked about if you want to break it out each quarter, but we think this is a good time to start thinking about that. What we find is as your financial awareness and education increases, then you make better informed decisions for yourself. And we're here as a resource to help and guide because we have a lot of information and knowledge. But what we find is those that have at least a general understanding feel more confident in their decisions that they make if they at least, they don't have to know every little detail, but at least know enough.
Yeah, and I think it's important to set some goals for yourself, maybe monthly goals or mini assessments, and track your project kind of like if you were in a class. And I love charts and check boxes and stickers. Get some gold stars.
Yes, like, wait a minute.
Well, one of our clients this morning, she was even saying she wanted to pay off her daughter. She had a student loan that she had for a Parent Plus loan, and she was like, "Well, one of my goals is to pay that off before I retire."
Yeah.
And so I thought that was fantastic. But consider what your monthly goals and/or your goal for the year is financially, and then check them off because it'll feel like progress.
Well, it's interesting. We have another client we're working with, a couple, and he still wants to work about another year and a half. But they also want to, they're building an ADU on their property, which they can get income from. So that's kind of one of their goals is to have this done. Looking at all of the income sources and where everything's at, he decided to take his Social Security. So he let it grow for a few years, but then they decided, we reviewed and we said, okay,
Time to turn it on.
yeah, let's turn it on. And then they took their building up and using that money now to help cover some of these expenses that they need. So there's some, it's not a one size fits all. It's very specific, and things change over time and people and with your needs. But those are some of the things that we can help you with. So we do suggest, once again, we do provide a lot of webinars and events. We have a YouTube channel. We have weekly newsletter with podcast. We have a Savvy Woman Invest on Purpose workshop coming up on August 14th at 5:30. So we're big advocates for having women learn about money and investing. So, please reach out or use us as a resource.
And your financial education, as you learn, you become more confident, and then you know what questions to ask. And then when you meet with us, you feel even more like you're going to be able to live the life you've always dreamed of.
So schedule an appointment with your financial advisor or financial planner.
Right.
Give us a call.
It's
We're happy to
time.
talk to you. You can subscribe to our newsletter and podcast if you haven't already. And
Pick a book and read one before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's like that's a good goal. It's like find something
There are a lot of really good books out there.
or maybe it's something
Podcasts, like you said.
and something financial related based on the theme. And so at this point, we are available for a complimentary strategy session or phone call. You can reach us at 760-692-5700. And thank you for getting savvy today with us about your finances. And remember to savvy up. Please stay tuned for important disclosures. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results, and the indices referenced for comparison are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. As always, please remember investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional. Savvy Woman Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor with the SEC.